Hello, everyone. It has officially clocked over to 11 a.m, so I'm going to take over from my colleague Jane, and we're going to look at essential skills for studying at uni. Now, I know a lot of you were here for the last session, so I will run through a few things. We might jump over a couple of things that might be repeated. So, my name is Grace. I'm here representing the Student Learning Support Service. I don't know if Jane would have mentioned, potentially, I'm sure she would have, but we basically support you with your academic studies at Flinders. So if you're going into your degree and you have any questions about assignments, or perhaps you just want to develop your skills in a certain area, we are the place that you can come and get that support. This Bedford Park campus and also the city campus are located on unceded Kaurna land. So I just want to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. We're very lucky. This is a beautiful campus. It is hilly. You will get tired walking across it. But yeah, that was land that was never ceded. So we're very lucky to kind of learn and teach and work on this beautiful campus. Now, for those of you who are here in the first session, have you already seen this video? Oh, good. Okay, excellent. Well, then I will click play.
Welcome to Flinders University. This is Simona Laka-Tur, and she's our Pro Vice-Chancellor Indigenous.
And this is Professor Romy Lawson, Senior Deputy Vice-Chancellor. And we're located at Yungarenthi Imperilla. We'd like to acknowledge all the traditional owners and custodians on the lands of which our university is located within South Australia and Northern Territory.
And whether you're studying on one of those campuses or online, we warmly welcome you to Flinders University.
Yungarenthi Imperilla means meeting place in Kaurna, and we were gifted the word Yungarenthi, which means to impart, to inform and communicate. We're right next to Yungarenthi Truku, the building where our Aboriginal students come and learn.
So to start your journey with Flinders, we're privileged to have Cliffy Wilson with us today. He's here from the Kumakaru, and he's going to do a welcome to country for us.
Nyankana mena, na mani. Nana Cliffy Tanku Manacha Wilson. Nagana, Naranjiri, Naranga, Nadri, Arandamayo. Mariwichanga Gana Miana, Nadlu Tambadi, Nadlu Gana Yatanga Tikandi. Nawanga di Mani the Bunigani Yatana, Nachi Yukandalia Yakandalia, Nachalia. Good morning to each and every one of you behind the lens today. My name is Cliffy Wilson, but I also go by Tunkel and Manacha, which are both my traditional Kaurna names down here in the city of Adelaide. So Tunkel is my totem, and my totem is the king brown snake, one of the most dangerous animals in the world. Also, Manacha is just my birth order name, which translates to the fourth born and male of my family. I'm a proud Kaurna man from here in the city of Adelaide, but also a proud Ngarrindjeri man from back on the lower lakes of the Coorong and the Fleurieu Peninsula. My family ties extend out to the Narungga people on the Yorke Peninsula, also to the Ngadji people on the Flinders Ranges, and last but not least, the Aranda people in the Northern Territory of Alice Springs. I'm here this morning at Flinders University in Bedford Park, also known as Yungarenthi Imperilla, which translates to meeting place, which is located on the Kaurna lands. And on behalf of the Kaurna people, I would like to welcome those who are situated here in Flinders Uni at Bedford Park on Kaurna lands, but also welcome those across South Australia who are located on other Aboriginal lands. May we pay respects to the traditional custodians of those regions, and also pay respects to their cultural and spiritual beliefs, as it still is important to the living Aboriginal people today. Also, we do have campuses located in Northern Territory, so I'd like to pay respects to the traditional owners of those regions. And to the staff and students, may we take care of these campuses and the surrounding communities of these areas like the Aboriginal people have for many thousands of years. But also, may we pay respects to the cultural and spiritual beliefs of the Aboriginal peoples across the country, and recognise that their connection to the land, the sky, and the waterways that surround and connect us are still as strong, still as important, but also still as important to the living Aboriginal people today. I would like to finish off by saying Nachalia and Nakada. Nachalia means thank you in the Kaurna language, and Nachalia means we'll see you again when our paths meet. To all students, I would like to wish you all the best for the remainder of the year and for your future studies. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cliffy, for offering us a welcome to country, and also the acknowledgement of all the traditional owners on which our universities are located.
So welcome to all our new students. I hope you have an amazing first semester, and remember, have fun.
Okay, so firstly, Don't read those captions literally because they do misspell Ghana. It's not Ghana the country, it's Ghana the people. And that is spelled Kaurna. Just thought I'd point that out for anyone who can't help but read the captions. So today, who here is in like first year, first semester of study? Nearly everyone. Okay, great. Awesome. So you're probably here because maybe you're not familiar with the Flinders campus or you're not really sure what to expect from your degree. I'll try and kind of give you some strategies that you can use throughout your semester. If at any point you want to ask a question, just yell out or put your hand up or whatever. I'm very happy to just kind of keep this conversational. We'll start with a quick video made by students to kind of show you where the key sort of services and facilities are on campus, if you're not familiar with them already, and then I'll jump into some of those skills we talked about.
Welcome to Flinders University. This is your guide to getting started, staying connected, and finding support. Let's go. First things first, Wi-Fi. Connect to the Edge Your Own Wi-Fi using your student FAN and Flinders password. For more information, head to the Wi-Fi page on our Flinders website. Flow, or Flinders Learning Online, is the main platform that the university uses. It runs off of a platform called Canvas, so you may hear people call it by that name too.
Need help with Flow? Head into the Orientation Events Planner page and register for the Intro to Flow session. If you need help to enroll and register, Flinders has plenty of support available to make the process smooth and stress-free. You can submit a request via Ask Flinders, or you can visit Flinders Connect in person for personalised assistance, or watch the Student System how-to guides on YouTube for quick visual guides. You also need to order your student ID card. This can be done via the Order My ID Card app on your Okta dashboard, or just visit Flinders Connect on Level 1 at Bedford Park.
You can pick it up from Flinders Connect or even get it posted. Just make sure your address is up to date, and you can even choose your preferred name.
Flinders Connect is your one-stop support hub for all things student life, helping with enrollment, fees, exams, graduations, ID cards, scholarships, and general inquiries.
Flinders also offer a huge variety of scholarships, which you can find on our Flinders Scholarships page. Getting to Flinders? No problem.
Take the train straight to Flinders Station or hop on a bus with heaps of routes, including all loop buses which keep us connected, so you're never more than a bus ride away.
If you're driving onto campus, don't panic, there's plenty of room to park on campus. Just make sure you download Cello Park or grab a V permit to avoid racking up those fines we all love.
Feeling unsafe? Security is here for you 24/7. Just ring 8201-2880 or find hotline phones around campus. If you experience harassment or unacceptable behaviour, you can always make a confidential report. It doesn't start a complaint, it starts support. You can find the library at Level 2 at Bedford Park. Chat with librarians, access photos, videos, textbooks, journals, and more.
Need academic support? Visit the Learning Lounge. The Student Learning Support Service is here to help with referencing, academic writing, and more, online or in person. Better You connects you with wellbeing resources, physical, mental, social, and spiritual. Check it out to look after you.
You can see a doctor, counsellor, or disability advisor through health counselling and disability services available on Level 3 of the Student Centre building by phone or online appointments. These appointments can be bulk billed or covered by an overseas health card. Contact them on 08 8201 2118 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays.
Oasis is your wellbeing space. There's free tea and coffee, prayer rooms and social events, markets and wellbeing programs.
Are you an international student? Come over to the International Student Services where you're supported through advice, volunteering, social events, meet and greets, and much more.
Young Corinthi supports Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students with tutoring, study spaces, financial support and community.
If you're a student with disability or mental health conditions, visit the University Specialist Employment Partnership Team. The USEP team offers specialised on-campus employment help in partnership with the Community Bridging Services.
Ready to kickstart your career? Careers Hub is here to help you build resumes, networking, business ideas, and placements to jumpstart your career.
More details on all the services discussed in this video are available on the link above.
And just remember, university is more than just classes. It's about finding your path, building your future, and accessing support.
And don't forget, having fun along the way. We're super excited to have you here.
Welcome to Flinders.
So hopefully that will give you a brief introduction to services. And like I said, if you have any questions, sing out. However, let's get into the study skills you'll need for uni. Now, everyone comes to uni from a very different point in life. Some of you might have just finished high school. Some of you might have been out in the workforce for many years. Some of you might have raised a family and now you're kind of coming back to study. These are all totally valid starting points, and sometimes that can bring a bit of overwhelm when you get into the university environment. University is a much more independent study environment than high school, so it does require you to kind of drive your learning, but that's not to say that there isn't a whole lot of support here for you. My main advice for you that I'll repeat throughout this session today is just if you're not sure about something, just ask for help, whether you go to Flinders Connect, whether you ask a lecturer, whether you ask some random person with an ID card on campus, just always ask for help because we are here to support you. The reason there is a roller coaster on this slide is because it can feel a little bit like that in your semester. That's a very natural rhythm to the semester too. I'll explain sort of why as we get through it, but basically this week is probably going to be a lot of information overwhelm, but also excitement. Your first few weeks of uni might feel quite relaxed because you're just getting a lot of topic information, and then maybe around week 3 you get your first assignment. And then you get that done, and then you kind of settle into the rhythm, and then you have mid-semester break, which is not a break because you'll have assignments due, and then you get to the kind of end of semester where apparently all the topics, can't coordinate, and we all give you our major assignments at once. So if you're kind of prepared for it to be a bit up and down, to have periods where things are slower and kind of more chill, and periods where you feel a bit more stressed, just know that that is completely normal. What we'll cover today is talking about due date tactics, looking at the whole of semester period. So that's about 14 to 16 weeks. I'll talk to you about how you can backward map your assessments so you have a really good idea of when things are due and what you need to do from day one to meet those deadlines. We'll talk about, time management and planning your schedules and everything. And then we'll look at dealing with your assignments specifically. I'll talk to you about what uni is actually like, although it's different for everyone, obviously, but I'll give you my perspective on what it's like. And then we'll end, if we have time, just talking about this thing called critical thinking that you'll probably hear a lot about as you get into your studies. It's something that you'll be assessed on in almost any assessment, so we'll kind of unpack what that means. So in terms of due date tactics, rightly or wrongly, probably your entire semester is going to be structured around deadlines. You might be starting uni because you love learning, and that's awesome, and that's definitely what we want you here for, but inevitably you end up working to deadlines a lot of the time. So most courses are based on a 13 to 14 week semester, depending on if you have exams or not. And then there are some that have different schedules. So is anyone here considering nursing, or is anyone enrolled in nursing? Yes, so you'll have a slightly different start date for the semester. So definitely consult your course for that because your schedule, you tend to start earlier and finish a bit earlier, and things are a bit different. But if you're following that traditional kind of semester structure, we have mid-semester breaks in April and September. So that's a 2-week break during semester. Like I said, I say break, but that's also when assessments tend to get due. But it just means you don't have to be on campus. First few weeks of semester are kind of settling in, getting into a rhythm. It's both a time of having nothing to do specifically, but also a lot of information dumping on you. So you'll get all your kind of due dates, you'll get your topic handbooks, you'll start working through your first module. So it's a lot of taking in information. Depending on how your assessments are structured, you may have some smaller assessments due in weeks 3 to 4, but weeks 6 to 7, sort of as you get close to the mid-semester break, is when your slightly bigger assessments are starting to get due. Generally, the way a topic is constructed is they give you some smaller assessments to work up to that major assessment at the end of semester because they want to kind of scaffold your learning. So as you get towards the middle of semester, you should have kind of the knowledge and the skills to start tackling those bigger assignments. And then weeks 10 to 14, just always feels like everything is due at once. It doesn't matter what you're studying. That is just when all your major assignments are due. If you're doing a full-time study load, you're doing 4 topics and suddenly you've got 4 assignments due all within the same 2-week period. So how do we navigate that? There's a couple of strategies I can offer you. Obviously, it's all about what works for you. You might already have a system that really works well. One option is we have 2026 student planners. You should, especially this week during O Week, you should be able to pick these up in the library. You can also scan the QR code and download a copy and print it. But there should be plenty of free A3 size versions floating around. And as you can see, it has literally every day of the year of 2026 on it. So already we're kind of halfway through it. We're here right now with O Week Semester 2. And then it's basically got all the teaching weeks. It's got your mid-semester break in the slightly greeny colour here. And then it's got, weeks blocked out for exam periods and stuff. So if you're someone who likes to see your life planned out visually for the next 6 months, that can be a really good one to give you that bird's eye view of what's going on. You can kind of plug in all your assessment due dates if it helps. Obviously, the space that's allotted is not super big, but maybe just kind of putting in your main due dates will give you kind of an overview of where things are coming up. So that's kind of the semester view. I put everything in my Outlook calendar. You might just write it on a piece of paper too. Whatever works for you is fine. But get those due dates down as soon as you've got them and just kind of look at where things are staggered for your semester. So let's say you've looked at where everything's due and now you're kind of thinking, I know I've got an assessment due in week 3 or week 6. That feels like a really long time away, but I know it's going to go quickly. What I would suggest you do is you backward map your assessments. So backward mapping is a time/project management technique. You may already be using it. It's where when you know a deadline, you work backwards from that deadline to kind of unpack the steps you need to take to submit on time. So as a very basic example, let's forget that it says it's from 2025. If you have an essay due at the end of a month, let's say your essay is due on the 30th of January. You know that it's 1,500 words. You know that your deadline is the 30th of January. So what do you need to do in order to get it prepared by that time in a way that you're not kind of rushing it in the last 24 hours? So when we backward map, we go, okay, well, before I submit my assessment, I want to submit it to Turnitin first, the draft submission box, because I want to check that there's no issues with paraphrasing or plagiarizing. I want to make sure I've referenced everything correctly. Who here is familiar with Turnitin? Okay, good. I'll explain what that is. Turnitin is text matching software. So any assessment that you submit at Flinders, it automatically goes through Turnitin. And what it does is students sometimes get it confused with like plagiarism detection software. It's not detecting plagiarism. It's just detecting where your text matches up with other stuff that already exists in the database. So for instance, if you have copied across a quote from an article that you've read, it will highlight that. Now, if you've cited that quote correctly, so if you've referenced it correctly, that's not a problem because you're doing the right thing. But Turnitin just allows you to kind of review your own work and go, okay, I've missed a citation there, or I thought I had put this in my own words, but it's still looking too close to the original text. It's just a way of checking that you're kind of complying with academic integrity. In terms of how you can use it, there is a draft box that you can submit to before you submit your final version. And what it does is it doesn't keep that copy of your assessment. So if you're really worried about, text matching, which is understandable, it can be a bit confusing at first, you might want to submit to the draft box, have a look at your report, and then make any changes before you submit to your topic. If you have that's a lot of information to take in now. Just know that it exists and that it might be something that you want to do. And your topics should explain how you can access that. But if not, just come to us in the SLSS. So you might want to submit to Turnitin a couple of days before just to check your work. Sometimes it can take 10 minutes to generate the report. Sometimes if there's a lot of traffic, it can take a bit longer. So you just want to build in that buffer time. So you submit to Turnitin 2 days before. And then you think, okay, well, before I submit to Turnitin, I need to make sure that I've edited and proofread my work so that it looks good, so that I'm comfortable with what I'm submitting. So let's say, a few days before you're going to start editing. Before you start editing, you need to have your first draft written. So let's say another week ahead of that date, you're going to do your first draft. And then, of course, the week before, obviously, in order to write a draft, you need to have done some research and to kind of create a plan for your essay. In order to create a plan for your essay, you need to know vaguely what you're talking about. So you're going to have to do the readings that are set for you in class as well. So you can see that over the course of the month, we've got fairly, I would say, not relaxed, but like not too pressurized deadlines that you can meet for yourself to ensure that you write your assessment and get it submitted. This is like a best case scenario because life obviously gets in the way, but generally, if you backward map your assessments first, you're more likely to complete them on time, and you've probably built in that buffer room for like when things go wrong, like you've been called into work, so you've lost a day of study, or, for whatever reason, you're sick or something. So that's kind of what it can look like in practice. If you want to employ that technique, but you haven't done it before and you want some support, again, you can come and chat to us in the SLSS and we'll just sit down and do it with you as well. Or, you could also use AI and plug in and say, help me backward map this assessment. In terms of making the most of your time, when you look at your schedule for uni, depending on the degree you're doing, your contact hours might actually look fairly good. I did my degree in creative writing. I had like 6 to 8 contact hours a week. So sometimes I was only on campus 2 days a week. So my schedule looked fairly relaxed. But of course, you also need to build in everything else that is going on in your life and make sure that you allocate time for it. If you assume that you have time to study, but then you find that it's constantly getting eaten away by work or by caring commitments or by social life, you just want to make sure that you're actually accurately doing a schedule. So, for example, if you're doing a full-time study load, every topic, you're expected to dedicate about 10 hours per week per topic. So if you're doing 4 topics, it's basically like a full-time job, theoretically. You'll find that, some weeks, again, are more pressurized than others. Some weeks you may be really quick at getting your readings done and it's kind of, you can coast. But when you're planning your week, don't just kind of look at when you need to be on campus or online to attend your class, but think about the associated study hours with that. So, for instance, here we've got someone who's studying an English topic, a history topic, a screen topic, and a creative workshop, and their contact time is not too bad. They've got quite a full day on Monday, they've got a bit on Tuesday, and they've got a couple of things on Thursday. But basically, Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday, they don't technically need to be on campus. But what I would suggest you do is block out time that you have to do your readings, to submit your discussion forum posts, to do any associated tasks with your topic, because otherwise you'll get to the night before your class. And I've been there, and I consistently have been there, where you think, oh, just do the reading before class. And then it turns out you've got like 4 PDFs that are like 30 pages long each. So make sure you're blocking out that time to actually do your work. In and around that, of course, you're probably working. You might be, maintaining a social life. You might be doing things with your family. You might have caring responsibilities. You might have kids you're taking care of. Anything that also takes away from the time you can dedicate to your studies, block it out on your calendar so you actually have a really realistic look at how many hours in your week you have left. I live about half an hour to 50 minutes, depending on traffic, away from this campus. So I know that every day I'll be travelling for at least an hour to an hour and a half, unless I have some ingenious way of maximising that time to listen to my readings, in audio format. That's time that I just don't have available to study. So bear in mind your travel time as well. And just kind of map it out and see what it looks like. And if you look at it and you go, I actually don't have as much time as I thought, that's okay, but at least you know. And then you can kind of work out what can be adjusted to make sure that you're keeping up with your studies. In terms of study sessions, so I said, block out time during the week to study for your specific topics. Think about what works for you in your brain. Generally, we suggest short bursts of study followed by breaks. Short bursts can be 20 minutes, it can be 2 hours, but it's better than kind of saying, I'll sit down from 9 till 5 and just get everything done. If you're someone who kind of goes into that deep focus, that could work for you. But generally, our brains get tired and we do need that break. So if you're not sure how to structure your study, start with, say, 20 minutes and then a 10-minute break. If that feels good, maybe go for a bit longer. But just kind of go in with a plan and then adapt it as needed, because everyone studies differently. What works for one person will not work for another person. Is anyone doing online classes? Yeah, a few. So if you're doing any study that's online, it can be really misleading to think, oh, well, it's online, so I'll just I don't have to travel to campus. I can just show up to the lecture and then, it's easier. Technically, online study actually it makes you work a bit more. So I would say make sure that you don't get complacent about online study. Treat it as if you are showing up to an in-person class. Make sure you're there on time. Make sure that I'm guilty of this. If I'm in a meeting, I'll also be replying to emails or Googling something. Try and treat it as sacred time where you are in the room and you are listening to what the lecture is about. Otherwise, it's so easy to get distracted. If you're doing online study and therefore you're not on campus, I would advise you to create a study-only space. Don't do what I sometimes do, which is, sit in my bed but with the TV on and also attend lectures, as tempting as it may be. Try and reduce distractions. Keep an allocated workspace so you know that when you sit down to do your study, that's what you're there for. The Pomodoro technique, if you're not familiar with it, that is just what I was talking about before. So it's a timer where you work on something for maybe 20 minutes and then you'll take a 10-minute break. And it's just a way of kind of making short bursts of progress on something without burning yourself out. Another thing that would be useful, whether you're studying online or not, is build in daily check-ins. So if you're not used to checking your Flinders email, get in the habit of checking it, because that's where all your information goes. So it won't go to your personal email account once you start your classes. So if your lecturer tries to reach out to you, if you have questions, that's where you should go. So I would say, every day just build in, say, 5 to 10 minutes to check your email, check Canvas if there are any announcements, and that way you're keeping up with things. So assignments one bite at a time. It's related to backward mapping. This technique is called chunking, and it's basically when you break down a bigger task into a smaller one so that it feels less overwhelming, and also you can really see yourself making that progress as you work through the steps. So with anything, doesn't have to be specifically uni exclusive, but if you've got an assignment, break it down into smaller chunks so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming to wake up and go, oh my God, I've got to write a 2,000-word essay. Instead, you're waking up and you're going, okay, today I'm going to read 2 articles that are on the topic of my essay. And that seems like it's more achievable. Your motivation is probably going to be there a bit more. Oh, wow, I got through that really quick. Any questions about time management or those strategies, or any concerns that you have that maybe I can alleviate? No? All right. So what will uni be like? If this is your first time in a university environment, and it may not be, you might have started a degree elsewhere, or you might have done some TAFE study or something, and so you kind of have a sense of what it'll be like. As I said at the start, the main thing is that, just make sure, that you understand that it is a bit of a culture shift, going from, really kind of scaffolded study at, say, high school into university. It's also a shift going from working full-time into university as well. So be aware that it is a transition. Be really kind to yourselves as well as you adjust to that. And kind of, be flexible, I guess. Like I said, university is a much more self-driven, independent form of study. So you might have lecturers or topic coordinators that are really, they have really good rapport with you. They might notice if you're struggling with something and reach out. But the likelihood is that, if you're not coping, or if you need help with something, even if it's something as simple as just not understanding how to ask for an extension, you need to be the one that actually asks for that help. Like I said, ask anyone. Ask your lecturer, ask me, ask anyone with a lanyard or an ID card walking around uni. If we don't know the answer, we will help you find the person who can answer your question. So that is my one takeaway, just make sure you ask for help. But in terms of that as part of your transition, do expect that you are going to be moving into a different environment. There are going to be different expectations. Each class dynamic is going to be different. You might find that one class is really friendly and community-like, and then another one, it feels much more kind of formal and clinical. All of that is totally normal. It's not a sign that you don't belong here. It is very typical of a uni experience. So if you do feel that way, congrats, because that means that you have the exact experience of probably every student here at Flinders and any higher education institution. Your confidence, if you're not feeling super confident, it will grow through practice, through taking on feedback, and through asking for support. Anytime you start something, you're just going to grow and get better and develop as time goes on. So just see this as like a really exciting start of a new chapter, and that you don't have to figure everything out on your own. That's what people like me are here for. We are here to help and answer questions and make it accessible and not frightening. At uni, you're going to develop a wide range of skills. Obviously, if you're going into a specific degree with the aim to work in that profession at the end, you're going to be learning lots of those profession-specific skills, but you're also going to be developing just a lot of critical thinking skills and a lot of kind of more general academic skills that you can transfer to any context or any situation and that are really going to help you in the long run. So one thing that you'll develop is critical thinking, and I will kind of break down what that is. But basically, it's where you begin to question ideas and build arguments and become more confident in your own assessment of things. So rather than just taking things at face value, you're going to learn how to evaluate things, judge them, and create your own arguments as well. You're going to strengthen your reading skills because it is inevitable that you will do reading here at Flinders. One thing I would say is if you struggle with reading or if it's just not your preferred way of taking in information, again, come and see us at the Learning Lounge, but also look at, the ways that AI can kind of help with that too. Like one good thing about AI, I know there are plenty of flaws, but it does make some things more accessible. So if you prefer to listen to a reading, perhaps you can find an AI that will turn it into an audio file instead and you can listen to it. You'll learn new styles of writing, whether it's more formal writing, whether it's more kind of reflective or creative. If you're having to write specific genres for your profession, so, you might be writing a scientific report or a case study or a clinical report or even some kind of legal report, depending on what you're studying. And you'll, of course, build research skills. So you'll learn how to find credible information, identify that and use it with confidence. And if you decide that you want to stay in academia after your degree and you want to do honours or you want to do a PhD, if you want to one day work in a university, all of these skills are going to be so important for that environment as well. But the important thing is that you're not expected to know this already. These will be things that you'll develop over time and with support as well. So, critical thinking, like I said, this word will get kind of thrown around a lot. It'll be in your rubrics for your assessments. You might be given feedback about your critical thinking. It's a big word that we use a lot in university, but it's also quite an abstract concept. So I'll just kind of I'll try and break it down a little bit for you. One way of understanding critical thinking is through the lens of, students will often come to us in the Student Learning Support Service and query why they've received a lower grade than they thought they would get. They thought that they wrote well, that referencing was done well, that they stayed on topic. And what we notice is that sometimes students who are confused or upset that they got a lower grade, it's not so much that their writing skills aren't great, it's not so much that their referencing isn't great or that it wasn't on topic, it's more that the critical thinking required was not quite there. So perhaps rather than actually evaluating or arguing for something. They've just described it or they've just reported it. And as you get more familiar with writing at university, you'll start to notice this as well, and you'll start to notice what the difference is. The key thing is that now that you're at university, we don't want to tell you what to think. We want to help you learn how to think better. And we also want to know what you think. So you're at the point now, and you will continue to kind of advance in this, where this is no longer just we transmit information to you. We are going to provide you access to information, and then we're really curious to see what you do with it and to see what you think about it and how you interpret it. So I guess the key to productive thinking at university is critical thinking, and that's very different to just kind of reporting what you've already heard. It's different to just describing something that happened. It's about actually giving your perspective and your voice. A really brief overview, I guess critical thinking is making sure that you're conscious of your own thinking. So that's that kind of metacognition. So you need to ask yourselves now, why do you believe a particular thing? What has informed that belief? What are the limitations of that approach? If you go into a tutorial and they pitch you a question and you have an instinctual response to it, like AI is bad or AI is good, think about why that is. Think about what evidence is leading you to that opinion. This is going to help you not just at uni, but in your everyday life. I mean, realistically, you're probably all practicing critical thinking all day, every day anyway. You just might not be labeling it as such. But critical thinking will help you understand and evaluate the work of people who research and publish in your field. It'll allow you to analyse literature, and it'll allow you to reason positively in an academic environment. And ultimately, when you're doing assessments for your degrees, some of it is assessing, okay, have you, learnt what we wanted to teach you in the topic? But a lot of it is also kind of checking that you've developed those skills, that you can make your own argument, that you can present your own interpretation of things as well. It's useful also for critical thinking about other people's work. So when you read work that, for example, you'll probably get set readings every week for a topic, depending on your discipline. Often those readings will be peer-reviewed academic research, so written by academics in that field. And you might feel like that means you should take their word as gospel, but critical thinking means that you can actually look at and read and analyse their arguments. You can evaluate their logic, because I tell you, there is still stuff that gets published that is not perfect. You can evaluate their evidence, and you can assess their claims to see how strong or weak or convincing their argument is. So that's critical thinking about other people's work. But it also then comes back to critical thinking about your own work. So, as you advance in your degrees, as you start presenting your own academic arguments, you're going to start making your own claims. You're going to need to know how to present a strong argument. You need to acknowledge debates in your field, acknowledge limitations to perspectives you might hold. And it's all about ultimately contributing to that knowledge in that discipline as well. So if you think about critical thinking, not just as something you'll be assessed on, but something that helps you assess other people's work and your own work, it becomes kind of intrinsic to everything you do here at Flinders. So in terms of what it looks like during your studies, critical thinking in terms of reading is looking for key ideas and arguments in work that you read. So it's no longer about rote memorisation. Some disciplines and some specific topics may still require that rote memorisation, like in perhaps a medical topic or something. But ultimately, when you're given a reading, we're not asking you to memorise it. We're asking you to pull out the key ideas and those arguments. In terms of writing, it's not just about a one-way transmission of knowledge. It's about joining a scholarly conversation. So you're not just kind of handing over your argument, but you are explaining your ideas and you're making sure that you support it with credible evidence. And then in terms of referencing, it's important to just show where your ideas come from. When you write or build an argument, you're standing on the shoulders of giants, so to speak, other people who have published in the field before you. And it's important to show where you got your ideas from, how they connect, and that goes beyond just avoiding plagiarism. Ultimately, critical thinking is going to help you decide what matters, why it matters, and how to use it well. So in terms of how my team or the team that I work for can support you, we have a bunch of ways that you can access our support. If you're studying at Bedford Park, which if you're here at this session, I imagine this will be your main campus, literally if you walk out of this door into the courtyard and just keep going straight, you'll hit the library, and we are based kind of all over. We've got our learning lounge on the level 0 near Flinders Connect. So if you go to Flinders Connect, you'll see us there. Our team is located on level 2, but we're always around and we really want to help you. So if you have questions, just come and see us. You can get support from learning advisors. So like I said, level 0 next to Flinders Connect, we have learning advisors there from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. You don't need an appointment. You can literally just walk up and go, I have a question about APA 7 referencing, or I got this feedback on my assignment and I don't understand it. Can you help me? And our team, they'll be in those blue shirts. They can help you. You can also book one-on-one appointments. So if you're not a fan of the drop-in, you want something a bit more structured, you can book yourself a 20-minute appointment with our advisors. And then we also have online study resources that are available 24/7. So if you want to download PDF resources about referencing or academic writing, if you want to watch videos about those same skills, you can do that. And throughout the year, we also run workshops and we have online self-paced modules as well. So my best advice, let me check. Yep, that is the end. My best advice would be, like, if you can't remember much from this session, but you do want to find us later, just Google SLSS Flinders and we're literally the first result. And then there are links to everything that we do and you can access them that way as well. So that's kind of the content I had to share with you today. Are there any questions about anything that I've said or any of the services that we offer? No? That's fine. That's normal because it's orientation. I guarantee that maybe at week 3 or week 6 you might have those questions. So just remember that we exist and that you can come and chat to us. But for now, just take in the information. Remember, Google SLSS Flinders. And yeah, I wish you all the very best with your studies. I'll be around here for a few minutes if you do have questions. But otherwise, welcome to Flinders and have a great semester.